The time now is 2:40. It's Shay here with you until 6 p.m. Now, across the country, more families are turning to music as a way to connect with loved ones living with dementia. An experience I know very well, as my aunt who passed away last year had dementia, and for some reason every time we would play some of her favourite songs from nearly 30 to 40 years ago, she would light up and smile in a way that we just couldn't do with an everyday conversation. Well, today TV and radio presenter Sian Welby is spending time at Bridgeside Lodge Care Home in London, where residents regularly experience live performances from the Spits. It's a group of professional musicians that are actually based inside the home itself. Honestly, it's so heartwarming. And when I heard about this, I really, really wanted to shine a light. It's quite a simple idea though, isn't it? But with a big impact. Music helping people communicate, relax, and fundamentally reconnect even when words become so very difficult. She's there today with Music for Dementia. Now, it's a campaign calling for music to be a part of everyday care. I'm really delighted to say that I'm joined on the line now with Sian and the campaign CEO, Amy Shackleton. Pleasure to have you both on BBC Radio London. Going to come to you first, Sian. How did you get involved with this campaign? Why was it important for you on a personal level?
Well, I think because my dad's suffering with dementia, and he has done for the past probably a lot longer than we've known, but for the past 10 years. And he was someone that always connected with music. And, you know, you start to realise the more you're around people with dementia that, you know, I've been to a few care home visits and I've tried to help wherever I can. And the common thread seemed to be music.
Yeah.
Every time I went, the one thing that anyone would say, whether it was carers or family or friends, is, you know, you get them back when the music's on. And even if it's just in their eyes, or maybe it's a whole conversation, I feel like there's something deep inside us where we just never lose music. And almost in that moment, it's like all the memories come flooding back. And for my dad particularly, he can almost be the most coherent and the most with it once we've activated him with music.
That's such a beautiful thing to hear, and I'm nodding away, Sian, because I had the similar experience with my Boaji, my aunt. What kind of songs, what kind of music does your dad love?
Well, my dad's quite, I would sort of joke he could be my granddad. My dad's quite old for his, for a dad. Yeah. He's in his 80s. But he grew up with like rock and roll and all that kind of 1950s, 1960s music. So yeah, that's the kind of stuff that activates him. He was a drummer. And so anything that he can tap along to. And it's interesting because you do see that it just immediately, a bit like you were saying a moment ago, that you don't need to be able to understand anything or follow anything. Yeah. Music you can just react to. And so there's no pressure. Everyone can relax. It's immediately sociable, but without any need to be able to understand, listen, follow a conversation. And they're all things that I think when people have dementia, sometimes there's like a stress or embarrassment around trying to keep up or trying to mask it a lot of the time. And the second the music is sort of taking over, that pressure's all like gone away.
It's quite something, isn't it? It's about the feeling around it and the emotions that it kind of brings to every person. And sometimes you don't need to put that into words. Amy, let me bring you into this conversation.
Sure.
For people who don't know about this campaign, tell us more about Music for Dementia and really the change it's trying to bring about.
Yeah, absolutely. So Music for Dementia, it's a campaign powered by the Utley Foundation since 2018. And we've really been campaigning for music to be part of dementia care. So we've been campaigning to change government policy. As well as that, we've been funding music choirs, playlist providers, music cafes. So all different aspects of really trying to get the music to the people that need it. Now we're working more on making music more accessible as well. So working with larger organisations within the music and tech industries to try and make music more simple and more accessible, really because we know the power of music, so it's just a case of spreading that word as much as we can.
What does the research tell us about, the real longevity of benefits of music for people living with dementia? It's not just that kind of instant moment where they hear the music.
Yeah, sure. Well, interestingly, if you were to scan your brain while listening to music, it would actually sort of light up like a firework display. And that's because music triggers the areas of our brain not just linked to hearing, but also emotion and long-held memory, physical movement as well. So it's like if areas of your brain are damaged, music can get in through the back door.
That's quite a nice way of describing it, I have to say, Amy. Sian, let me ask you, for anyone who is currently caring for a loved one who is living with dementia, what would you want to say to them, especially as you yourself have been sharing the experience that you have with your own dad?
Well, all I would say is you're doing an amazing job to whoever is, looking after, maybe it's their other half, their mum, their sister, whoever it is. It's a really tough job and it's really hard on the other person. And I just think it's one of those things where I can only speak on what I've experienced. I'm no expert, but I've learned to embrace the dad that I have now. I try not to think about longing for how he used to be, because what's the point in doing that? I deal with how he is now, the man I've got. I'm lucky to still have him. I've had friends that have lost their parents a lot younger. So I always try and find the positives and go, well, I do have him. And when he's having a good day, I can get him in the moment. I think my top tip would be to try not to ask too many difficult questions in conversations, or even say, do you remember?
Yeah.
Because the likelihood is they can't. So just try and have a real present conversation, or normally they actually can remember long-term things. So even if the conversation was more about their childhood, hobbies they used to have. And the main thing is, I can speak on behalf of someone that it's their parent. Ultimately, my dad just wants to be my dad. So he doesn't want to be cared upon all the time, because that's his job. So I stopped sort of fussing around him and started asking him to help me do things. And at one point, honestly, it was just getting him to hold a screwdriver and screw something in that a moment before I'd unscrewed.
It's, gosh, it is hard though, isn't it? We can't sugarcoat this, Sian, because I think, my Boaji, who passed at the end of last year, she was like my grandmother. And there were moments of clear repetition which became frustrating for her, frustrating for us. And I always did find that, as you were talking about kind of things that activate your dad, I remember for me, whenever she would listen to, he's a wonderful Punjabi artist, his name's Satinder Sartaaj. As soon as we'd play any of his music, she would just light up. And for however many minutes that song was, 3 or 4 minutes, we were able to connect in such a deeper and meaningful way than if I was, as you rightfully say, kind of asking continual questions that clearly were getting frustrating for her as well as myself. It's not always easy, though, when you have a loved one with dementia. It's important for us to acknowledge that and what it's like for the family members as well.
Yeah, I totally agree, because sometimes it is almost harder on them.
Yeah.
Not always. I mean, there's moments of clarity where my dad almost does realise that he's repeated himself, and then he's a little bit embarrassed or whatever. But as the carer, let's say, or, the partner or whoever, it is hard on you, because you're taking on two mental loads. Let's talk about my mum, for example, where she used to rely on him for so many things. He was such a practical man. Now she's taking on the burden of 2 trains of thoughts, not just what she's doing, but what is he doing? And then it's double the load of work, and who's doing the dinner? She's doing it, but who's getting the shopping? Well, she is. And who's picking that up? She is. And before you know, your workload as the person who's living with the other person has doubled or tripled, and that takes its toll. So you've got to be kind to yourself, and you've got to I think, be willing to ask for help, whether that's professional or whether it's just friends and family. But don't try and suffer alone in silence, or just think, oh, I'll crack on. It's my job to do this as the partner, or my job as the mum, or whatever. I think you've just got to be willing to ask, open that up, get people to come and help you, and you yourself will need a day off from it. Like, be kind to yourself.
Yeah, I think you put that so beautifully. Just finally, let's talk the Spitz musicians then. How amazing are they, Sian?
Oh, Shay, they're just brilliant. When I tell you, I've literally just been like wiping my makeup off my eyes because I've been crying.
Yeah.
Because I can't, when you're actually watching firsthand, I literally am watching people not just light up, but go from having their eyes closed in a chair to springing into action on a certain song.
Wow.
At one point they were doing the Beatles and that activated a different side of the room. And then it was reggae, and a different lady was like, oh, that's my favourite.
Oh, wow.
And it was genuinely very, very moving. And at one point I just couldn't hold the tears in. I was like, this is incredible. And it was moving. I was witnessing in real time music changing someone's day.
It's the power of music, isn't it? What a heartwarming conversation we're having today, Amy and Sian. I just wonder, just finally, Amy, for anyone who wants to support Music for Dementia in the campaign, what do they need to do? Perhaps this is something they would really like to be taking place in, in a care home near them, whether it's in London or outside of London.
Yeah, absolutely. If you take a look at our website, there are so many different ways that you can get involved. I've mentioned we support a lot of different dementia choirs, music cafes. So do get in touch with us and we can always find something that's local.
So I'm going to give the website. It's musicfordementia.org.uk. I'm on the website right now. So again, a lot of information, detailed information there, musicfordementia.org.uk. Blimey, I've just seen you've even got a radio, haven't you, that people can listen to specifically to support those with dementia?
We do. So M4D Radio is our free online resource. So it's ad-free, talk-free, no discombobulating time checks,
nice.
Music organised by decade, and it's a free resource there for people living with dementia and their carers at home as well. So
That's
we really
wonderful.
want to spread the word for that.
Absolutely. That is so wonderful, and I suspect really needed for many families right across the country. Sian and Amy, pleasure having you on Radio London. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Honestly, it was really important to have this conversation. Again, if you'd like details, go to musicfordementia.org.uk. Pleasure again speaking to TV radio presenter Sian Welby and also the campaign CEO Amy Shackleton.